Now, and thank you all for hitting that record button. We are going to start with a review of a notice of funding opportunity, a NOFO. Um, this is pretty essential part of the efforts that we've been undertaking for well over 2 years now to align with the state of California's economic priorities and also as a way to ensure that there's an equitable distribution of resources, not only throughout the state, but with the different regions that are doing this work, but within Orange County as well. And so we certainly appreciate everyone's dedication here for the first round of Catalyst funding. That was, an exercise that was part of this overall effort that we hope will make a meaningful, durable impact in Orange County. Um, and I also want to share that earlier this month, Maria um, sent you all an email requesting some feedback on what would now be the release of round two of Catalyst funding, and she included in that email information around this NOFO packet, this application materials for the second round, this notice for funding opportunity. There were no requested changes during those communications, and we thought we'd give everyone an opportunity to hear from Maria today to give us an update on that process and solicit any feedback or input that you may have. Perhaps you didn't get around to submitting via email, or some additional thoughts or comments you'd like to share today after Maria provides a brief presentation. So um, let's turn it over to Maria to walk us through the latest on the NOFO process. So Maria, and thanks for
Mhm.
being here with us today. And I know you're bearing some illness, so thank you for hanging tough here this morning. So let's turn over to you.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. Good morning. So I'll try to be as thorough as possible and break it down for you all so that you all understand it, but also quickly, right? Because we only have an hour and we do have other items on the agenda. So I'll move to the next slide. So this next slide is hyperlinked, so it leads you to the NOFA, which I'll go back to in a bit because I wanted to talk about the funding breakdown. So here's the funding breakdown. We're currently in round two of Catalyst funding. We released the application materials just recently on May 19th. We have a total of 4.6 million available, with 3.6 million for job creating projects and then 1 million available for community enhancing projects. So a little bit more than what we had in round one. Just like in round one, we won't fund projects that are asking for implementation funding. And of course, we're continuing to honor the work in the regional plant part two, which the collaborative was involved in helping create. And then I'll walk you all through the Jobs First webpage real quick and then come back to the PowerPoint because I really want you all to be able to take a look at this. So this is what the page looks like. We've made some updates, made it very friendly and accessible for applicants who are interested in taking a look at it. We again provide definitions of CJF and Regional Investment Initiative. We talk about Catalyst funding. We link that pre-development activities for everyone. The NOFO, right, our Notice of Funding Opportunity section. The Catalyst application materials are all accessible here. NOFA packet, budget narrative, and budget template. These two documents will eventually be filled out and uploaded into the link here, which later I'll walk you all through the portal. That's something that's different. In round one, everything was submitted. The entire proposal was submitted through an email. Jobs First email. This time we went with a grant portal. It's easier for the applicants and it's easier for all of us to score. Here's the timeline on the web page if you ever want to go back and take a look. And then proposers webinars, I'll talk a little bit about that later in the presentation. The proposers webinars decks are already up. The recordings are already available as well. And then we have a question and answer section, which we will update weekly. The FAQ document, the disinvested communities map, and of course the awardees from round one. So as you can see, we made it to where it's really friendly for everyone interested in applying. I'll go back to the presentation now. Okay, so then I'll go to job creating. So all 10 sectors from round one are included in the job creating. These are all in the regional plan part 2 as well. But we did end up adding aerospace and defense, and then we also added hydrogen, so those two are new. And then just like in round one, proposed projects do need to show that there is a significant benefit to Orange County's disinvested communities, and that funding will be spent on activities that advance projects with the primary goal of business development and growth, and then create good paying jobs in the region. And good paying jobs are occupations that offer baseline annual earnings of $48,353, receive employer sponsored healthcare, have full-time and full-year appointments. And you can find this definition on page 24 of the NOFO packet. And if an applicant plans to submit a workforce development project, it must be in connection with a future economic development project or some commitment to partner from an employer or employers. And then OCBC staff will be scoring job creating project applications just like in round one. And then for community enhancing applications, 1 million will be spent on activities for projects that address any topics outlined in the regional plan part 2 and or industries not mentioned in the job creating projects, such as housing, healthcare access, green technologies, childcare access, and climate adaptation. You can read more about this in page 10 and 11 of the NOFO packet. And then community enhancing project applications will be scored by the collaborative. And then you can see there are different requirements for job creating than community enhancing. And the community enhancing is tied more to SURF. If you remember the original name, right before it became California Jobs First, was the Community Economic Resilience Fund. The basics of it was to uplift communities and focus on communities. And so we do still want to honor the work of the collaborative. And so that's why we still offer the community enhancing project options and the 1 million. And then the scoring criteria. So there are a total of 5 project scoring criteria categories. This hasn't changed from round one, with project and equity being the biggest scoring categories at 30 points each. In the project impact section, if applying for job creating, we ask that the applicant clearly outline their project's goals, the activities and expected results in advancing priority industries, and how their project contributes to the growth and development of good paying jobs and or business creation and development. And then, of course, provide quantifiable metrics such as how many people will be served and how their lives will improve. And they also need to reference sections from the regional plan part 2 in their responses. And then in the economic equity section, and it looks like this because economic equity belongs in the job creating section, and then equity belongs in the community enhancing section. So within those two applications. So in these sections, we ask applicants to demonstrate how their project benefits disinvested communities and or its residents, referencing obviously the Jobs First census tract for Orange County. Applicants may also propose projects that serve individuals who experience employment barriers, regardless of their place of residence. And this includes, but is not limited to, individuals who are justice involved, foster youth, single parents, individuals with disabilities, and then others as defined in the glossary. And we made sure to highlight this in the NOFO packet. And then based on socioeconomic factors and income level, they may still meet eligibility criteria, again, regardless of their place of residence. The applicant will also need to describe how residents of disinvested communities have expressed a need for this project or how they'll be engaged in the project planning and design. And then for the work plan, that section is worth 20 points and focuses on pre-development activities and specific tactics with the timeline needed to move forward, to move toward implementation and help the project come to life. And this is where they'll want to talk about assigned roles for key staff, project partners, and potential consultants. And then ORC qualifications are worth 10 points. And here the applicants will speak to their capacity to execute their project. They'll need to include relevant experience and outline specific past projects and outcomes, including dates. We then have the proposed budget and budget narrative worth 10 points, and we ask the applicant to provide a detailed budget that itemizes costs by category, such as personnel, materials, travel, subcontractors, etc. And then, of course, they need to provide a letter of reference that speaks to their character. The scoring criteria can be found on pages 12 to 18 in the NOFO packet. And then Catalyst applications will be accepted through a designated grant web portal that I'll walk you through all in a bit. And then also a reminder that if you are a voting member on the collaborative, you will need to submit a signed conflict of interest statement with your proposal. So here are the 3 Catalyst pre-development phases, same as last time, round 1. Concept, accelerator, and last mile. Each phase represents a different level of project readiness and funding recommendations, but there is no requirement that projects fit neatly into each category, and there are no strict funding limits. We just have these to allow for fair comparisons, or as Jesse likes to say, apples to apples comparisons. So for the concept phase, this phase is the earliest stage of a project. So this is where an idea is still being explored. The accelerator phase is the middle stage of a project's development where significant progress has been made, but more work is needed before reaching that last mile. And then the last mile phase means they're nearly ready for implementation, where most of the work is complete and only a few remaining steps are needed to launch or finalize their project. And all activities do need to be expensed by September 30, 2026. So that date hasn't changed because that is per the state. The selection process will remain the same as in round 1, where all applications will be made available to the collaborative, and then the collaborative will review and score all community enhancing project applications, and then vote to award activities until all funds are exhausted. And then OCBC, as the regional convener, will score all job creating project applications. Then OCBC will provide a recommendation of job creating projects to the collaborative. And then upon deliberation between the collaborative and OCBC, OCBC will decide if any modifications to the original selections will be made. So that remained the same. We did the same thing in round 1. And then selection process. So OCBC staff will host an optional virtual community enhancing project selection briefing. So we did this also in round 1 where we hosted it in person, if you all remember and attended. I kind of walked you all through the scoring criteria and just gave you as much information as I could and as we could as a team to ensure that when you were reviewing and scoring applications, you had the information that you needed. So the goal is to launch the poll, the voting poll, by July 18th, which is the next collaborative Zoom meeting. We have one July 11th and then July 18th. And then contact awardees by July 25th. Of course, knowing that dates can change depending on internal things that are going on and feedback from the collaborative. And then here's the applications and funding timeline. So applications are due no later than June 20, 2025 by 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. They have to be submitted through the grant web portal. And I'll walk you through the grant web portal in a bit. So let me actually go to that now. And then here's the timeline again. So this is what the portal looks like for applicants. They do have to create an account. And in this section here, it'll walk them through how to create an account. It's very easy. As you can see, I have the Jobs First email. I created an account so that I could see what it would look like for the applicant. And then they'll go to apply. And there will be two options, the job creating option and then community enhancing. So if as an applicant, I want to read more about each one, I'll just click see more. And then I go through it here and I might think, okay, well, I don't qualify based off the sectors that are listed here. My application might be geared more towards community enhancing. Let me take a look at that. And I could apply for both essentially if I wanted to, say 2 different projects. And so I'll go to apply. And then of course I'll checklist that I read the NOFO in full, which I'm hoping applicants do before applying, and then reviewed the FAQ, and we've hyperlinked them here. And then I'll answer questions like if I'm using a fiscal agent, are there other orgs who are co-applicants, the fiscal sponsor name, and so on and so forth. I'll keep scrolling. And if I have any co-applicants, I'll upload the file. Of course, we require the project name. And then the project phases I talked about earlier, concept, accelerate, last mile. They'll provide a brief description of their project. We talked about project impact, economic equity. So as you see, it doesn't say economic equity because this is the community enhancing application. And then the work plan, and throughout the application, we hyperlink as much as we could so that the applicant doesn't have to go looking for these things on our webpage. The org qualifications, and then these are the 2 files that they'll need to upload. So the budget upload sections here, and then the budget narrative. And of course, they'll enter their total funding request. And then their 1 letter of reference. However, if they need to provide or want to provide additional references, there is that option here. Then their 1-page project summary upload. We are requiring that they submit a 1-page project summary where they'll address project impact, who benefits, work plan, and total funding request. And they could save their application if they're not ready to submit, or they could submit their application if they're ready, and then I'll receive a notification that their application has been submitted. We also hosted 2 category-specific webinars this week. The job creating project webinar on Tuesday and the community enhancing project webinar on Thursday. This was us trying to really do that outreach and engagement and answer questions for applicants. And then we hyperlinked it already because they're, when I created this presentation, we were still in the register process. But they're now hyperlinked on our webpage. So if you'd like to go watch the recordings, they're on our Jobs First webpage. And then we also uploaded the presentation decks for access to everyone. And then we do offer grant writing mentorship at no cost to the applicant. Again, like we did last time, up to 5 hours. And all they have to do is email us at the Jobs First email. So far, I think I've received 3 requests, and I've already connected them to their grant writing mentors. And that's kind of it on my end. So, Ish, I don't know if anyone has their hand up.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any hands up, but this is the time to raise your hand or drop a question in the chat, or just come off mute and ask away. So any
If you
questions?
hate this, tell
got
me.
about-
If you love it, tell me.
Yeah, reactions, feedback. We have about 10 minutes here for questions and feedback or input. Anybody have a
I
question?
see Elva raising her hand, and then I also see Linda said, oh, you're so welcome, Linda. I did have some support with the portal. It wasn't just all me.
Okay,
Great.
Alva, you got your hand
Yes,
up,
I don't know why I'm not seeing my little hand to raise, but I just wanted to ask, so you said is this round for implementation or not?
It's catalyst funding, so it's not implementation funding, but it is round 2. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we completed round 1. That all went great. And then now we're in round 2.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, the
Okay.
implementation is through the state.
Anna, we have a hand up from you. Go ahead, Anna.
Yes. Hi, good morning, everyone. Sorry if I missed it, but are people who applied the first time eligible?
Yes, they're encouraged to. they should contact me, and I can answer all the questions and direct them to where they need to go. No, but yeah, they definitely can apply again. Whether they received funds in round one or not, they can definitely apply again.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Comments in the chat, just praises for your presentation, which is always welcome. Any questions or additional comments? Linda, go ahead. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I have a question about on the first round. Was there is there a general range of job expectations or job commitments that you can share with us from those that received the first round of awards?
Are you referring to like future economic development projects in general, just like how many jobs
Yeah,
they
on
would
the job
provide?
creating projects, was there a particular range aside from making certain that the the economic equity issues and the disinvested community issues were addressed? Was there a range of jobs attached to those winning projects that you can give us sort of a, was it between 5 and 15 or 15 and 30 or?
I feel like I need Jesse to help me with this, but I remember as I was reviewing the applications, it wasn't so much like, oh, this is only going to create 20 jobs and the org is maybe only like, 10 staff. I think what helped too with some of the applications is the more detail they provided, right? Like the more projected outcome, that was really helpful because I do remember reviewing some applications where there wasn't really like a forecast generally. But Jesse, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, Linda, I think obviously preface it with a workforce project's different than more traditional business growth projects, right? So on the workforce project side, I mean, most of those numbers were over 100, if not closer to 200 when it was implementation. But if you have one like the Cielo, where it's childcare, I think they kind of had a successful model, and I think it got to about 50 as kind of in-home childcare providers, right? So that's kind of more on the business side, where it's probably just that person. It could be a second person. But the workforce side is probably a little bit easier and more telling to say the number of job or number of people we're trying to train for in-demand jobs. And usually those numbers were closer to 200. If you
Okay.
want, I can circle back with more concrete numbers, but just off the top of my head on the job creating those 7 or so, that was really that's what popped out. And again, as we look at impact, higher numbers more or less are more compelling than lower, as you can imagine.
Of course. That's why I was trying to connect the dots on, for example, on the first round that we submitted between what the expectation was for actual jobs that would be generated from that work. So that helps. Thank
And I
you.
would also say it's a little bit of relativity, right? So it's like if the first round of projects, there's 5 projects, say they can, train 200 people. This round, that number could be everyone's offering 400 or everyone's offering 50. That's a little bit, it's hard to give you a harder number. I will look back and give you harder numbers. But you also have to understand that what could be true in the first round may not be true on the second round. Your competition are the applicants in the second round.
Okay. Thank you.
Then we have a question in the chat from Alberto. Is the one-page summary the same? Are the answers on the one-page summary the same as the separate form questions, or do you have shorter versions of those responses?
Yeah, it's generally like shorter versions of the longer responses. It's just easier if you provide that information to us, and we can provide that information in return to the collaborative. They're of course going to read every application, but being able to look at a summary makes it easier for the collaborative members as they're reviewing tons and tons of applications. So it doesn't have to be drastically different. You don't have to like chat GPT it or anything.
Great, thank you, Maria. And then we do have let's see, a question from Anna in the chat. What is the breakdown this time around for job creating versus community enhancing this round? And I think that's in the slides, but you want to just quickly go over that again?
Yeah, so Anna, the total for round 2 is 4.6 million, which is more than what we provided for round 1. Job creating is 3.6 million, and then community enhancing projects is 1 million.
Thank
Great.
you, Maria. Will there be one more round after this, or is this the last one?
So the goal is for there to be, and that's in the next slide, but the goal is for there to be around 3. Yeah, when we get to that agenda item, I'll talk a little bit more about it.
Great. Any other questions on these first sets of, okay, I do see a hand up. Chanta, go ahead.
I just want to ask a very short question. So, in order to apply, all the applicant have to create an account on the website, or is there any other option that they can apply?
It is only through their Grand Web portal. Yeah, that's the only option. Just like last time, the only option was through email, through the Jobs First email. This is actually easier for the applicant. Then their application packet doesn't get lost in the email or ends up in the spam folder. And they get an automatic response as soon as they submit their application. It will automatically send them an email thanking them for submitting their application.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah, Chanta, you're welcome.
Okay, other questions or comments before we move to the next slide? Not seeing any on my end. Maria, we've got a few minutes left, so why don't we proceed?
Yeah, and they know they have my phone number. They can always call me if anything comes up. I know it was a lot of information. So then the next one is round 3 funding, and I was just asking us that question. Hold on, let me. Oh yeah, you could see it. Cool. Okay, so what round 3 funding is looking like so far is we'll have 1 million available, and then that's it. Funds are exhausted. We're thinking we'll release it on July 7th, and that would close August 1st. We don't yet have a lot of information about that. We're still trying to get through round 2, but Jesse, if there's anything you'd like to add, I don't think we have a lot of information yet. We're still working it out.
Nope, just that we want to get money out the door quickly, although not recklessly, but quickly, because right, it only gives people a year to do the work they said they wanted to do with the money. So the longer we delay this, the less time we give people to advance their projects.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about this item? I know we don't have a lot of information, but we still like to put it in front of you all so that you know what we know, when we know.
And of course, as we have details, just like with Maria, with the last one, you will see the NOFO before it goes out, if not other highlights. So it's not like it's just going to be sent out after without your notice beforehand. You'll see it, and we'll send that out as soon as we have all that together.
Great. Any additional questions or comments folks may have on upcoming round 3 funding? Okay. I'm not seeing any. Thank you, Maria, for this very informative
course.
presentation.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, with that, we are on time here, and we are going to move into item 3 and discuss updates related to the activation plans for this collaborative. And to help us walk through those updates, I'm going to pass the floor to Dr. Walrod, who's going to provide a brief presentation and answer any questions or comments related to this item. So, Dr. Walrod, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ish. Good morning, everybody. Great to see everybody online here. Yeah, it's just a brief update. Just as a reminder, we submitted the first one, which was due to the state January 31st. We submitted on tourism and outdoor recreation, which you all reviewed. And then we have 4 more that are due June 30th. Those would be healthcare, childcare, med tech, and semiconductors. We are still finalizing a couple of those, but expect to see those probably mid to end of next week. And you'll have about a week. I think we're looking at June 13th to get comments back so that we can incorporate any feedback and submit those to the state by the deadline of June 30th. So expect to see those, like I said, mid to end of next week. And that's the update. Happy to take any questions.
Great. Any questions or comments related to the collaborative's activation plans from any of you? Let me just do a quick check in the chat. I just see a comment from John. Under review with Christina Ridgeton. Anything you want to add there, John?
That was a response to a direct message, my mistake.
Got it.
Let me go
Okay.
on record, I made a mistake.
All right, very good. Fair enough. Any comments or questions related to activation plans? Otherwise, we are really ahead of schedule here as we enter into our fourth item. And without seeing any questions or comments related to item 3, I am gonna turn to our friend from Charitable Ventures, Natalie Wynn, to provide us an update regarding the contracting status for round 1 Catalyst awardees. And so let's turn to Natalie to provide that update. And I'll just flag in the chat, Maria, there's a direct question for you from one of our collaborative members as well. But Natalie, floor is yours. Welcome.
Great, thank
Natalie,
you.
did you want to share your PowerPoint slides or did you want me to do that for you?
Oh, you know, I'm gonna try it out on my end, and then I'll let you know if it doesn't work. I'll lean on you for that. But good morning, everybody. Thank you. Let me go ahead and try to share my slides here. Give me a second. Okay. Are you all able to see my slides?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for your time and engagement so far. As you know, I'm with Charitable Ventures, and on this call, joined with me here is Amanda, which some of you may be corresponding with. I don't know if she has her camera on, but she can wave if she does. So I'll go ahead and get started. So today's meeting, I'll just go over quickly the awardee updates for round 1. So today's agenda is just overview of the awardees, the contract and the contracting process. Then I'll go over the current statuses and upcoming milestones. Next, I'll talk about the advance payment process. Next, I'll talk about the themes and challenges, and I'll leave space for questions and answers at the end. I'm unable to see the chat at this time, so if there is anything that comes in, I'll go ahead and address that at the end for, during the Q&A. So I want to say first, thank you, collaborative members, for your time, care, and your thought that you put into this process. Your feedback directly shaped where this round of funding went, and because of your involvement, we're supporting proposals that reflect the values and priorities that we share, and we're excited to give you updates while these awards are being contracted. So, overview of the awardees and the contracting process. So this is the breakdown. This is like a donut chart. As you can see, it's from left to right is the awardees. So County of Orange with 22% of the funding at $750,000, and then it goes around the corner that way. If you want to see in better detail, it is attached to the agenda packet. So I'll move on. Here we can see the split between community enhancing and job creating. So community enhancing about 27% of the total funding, and then job creating for the remainder of the 72%. So in this partnership, Charitable Ventures will execute and manage the contracts with awardees, review invoices and process payments, and then provide just ongoing support throughout the subcontract term. So for any questions, please feel free to send an email over to subcontracts@Charitable Ventures with any questions you have at all related to finances or contracts. So now into the contracting process. So we review materials from awardees and confirm compliance with legal and financial requirements. So that includes the W-9, the SOS. So if I didn't write it out here, but that's a short for Secretary of State status. So just ensuring that registration with the Secretary of State is active and in good standing, checking insurance, just to ensure that's compliant with our prime contract that we have with the state. Review the scope of work, specifically the budget. On our end, we review that, and any budget modifications over 10% is something that we'd have to look at. Otherwise, everything else, if it's just a line item shift, it can continue on without any issues. And then finally would be the procurement justification. So essentially, if any proposals have are subcontracting their work out to consultants or other organizations, a procurement justification form has to be submitted to us for us to review. For the most part, it's really just an exercise of diligence. We're not nitpicking and checking exactly who, what, but we just want to make sure that, for transparency, not just for the collaborative, but for everyone involved, that we're contracting people in which they would benefit from the work that's being done for these projects. So after all that's done, the reviewing, we'll send out the contract draft and negotiate or clarify any terms if needed. It is a longer contract. It's a little over 20 pages. So there's items in the terms and conditions that maybe don't mesh well with an organization. So we're here to negotiate that or clarify any terms if the wording just seems a bit off. Whatever your legal team has questions about. And then finally, we route the contracts for signature, both internally and with the awardee. And so with all that being said, this process takes anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks to complete. And I will move on next to
But now,
where,
let me jump real quick. What
Yeah,
is
go
this
ahead.
for this with Com? So what is the status of how many applicants have contracts in front of them at the moment, or is that being worked on?
it's sent out, or it's being sent out by our operations team today. So should be getting it in your mailbox either today or sometime this weekend or Monday.
So how
If-
many of the 14 projects?
So 13 are in our operations inbox right now. So in terms of the status of being sent out, I don't have the current status right now, but it is sent their direction. So they should be receiving it
So
soon or
it
today.
should just be a matter of the applicant signing whenever they're comfortable, and then CD
Yeah.
signing. So
Exactly.
knock on wood, by next week, if people get on it.
Yeah, people are on it
they can start.
Monday. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
For
I think that's what's most pertinent for the collaborative.
Makes sense. And thank you for the question. So on to that same thought is just talking about current status and upcoming milestones. So announcements were shared, as you know, on the 11th of April regarding the awardees, and of all the 14 awarded proposals, 14 are eligible for funding and have been contacted to complete the contracting process. I did want to make an amendment to the third bullet point here. All contracts have been sent out for execution. All but one. There's one awardee that we haven't received contact from regarding completing all their required documents. And so 13 out of 14. So I would say that's pretty good. And contract effective dates are either on May 1st, or May 1st or June 1st, depending on when the awardees had submitted all the required documents to us. So they're eligible to start work at this time. So regarding upcoming milestones, awardees can start billing as early as the effective date on their contract. So as I shared earlier, even though we're now in late May, though there are some effective dates that start as early as May 1st, they're able to bill as of that date and start work is what in short. So effective dates were based on the date that all the required documents were submitted to us. And at this point in time, we're happy to be able to offer advance payment of up to 25% of the proposed award. I'll go over advance payment in this next slide. So advance payments are meant to support awardees for the early project activities. The use of the funds is very flexible, and up to 25% of the awarded amount may be requested. At this time, we only need 2 documents to be submitted to us for consideration or approval, and that's the statement of need and the timeline of how they're intending to spend down the advance payment funds that they're requesting. The turnaround time is 1 to 2 weeks from the date that they submit it to us for us to approve it, and then 2 to 3 weeks for us to send out the payment to them. All right, almost done here. We're at themes and challenges. This was our first time doing this, so that we noticed that there was a slowdown with the state on approving proposals or funding. So we'll try our best to do what we can internally to get ahead of that. So as soon as the collaborative votes on, yes, this is good to go, we'll send it over to the state, and hopefully that'll speed up the process for this upcoming round of funding. There also seem to be confusions with the scope of work. In round 1 funding, we had requested that awardees complete the scope of work. So moving forward, we're just gonna, take back that process just to make it easier on the awardees and just to get the contracting process going a bit faster. So round 2 awardees do not need to complete it. The work plan and proposals will be in the scope of work along with the budget. If there needs to be any changes to the work, the scope of work specifically, or the work plan, OCBC will receive and process the change orders. And then if there's anything that needs to be changed in the budget, CV will receive and process any budget mods, but anything less than 10% doesn't need to be, we don't need to receive notification for it, just anything above 10%. So I'm near the end now. So our goal is to get the awardees contracted and ready to do work as soon as possible. So we're open, available for any questions. Here's the email, and we're aiming to provide awardee updates at all future collaborative meetings. And just for transparency purposes, since the collaborative members will not always be in the meetings where we're with the awardees, just so you know, we plan to meet with the awardees at least once during their contract term, just to check where they're at with the contract, not only the program, but also the budget. This is the space for any questions or concerns you might have. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Here's just a thank you sheet, and I'll go ahead and check the chat to see if there's anything.
Great. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments from the collaborative members? Linda, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Just a simple one. This will be online with the OCB files and folders.
The slides, Linda?
Yes, please.
Yes, I believe it's already attached to this meeting's agenda.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes.
I just didn't click on it. Okay, great. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's always with the calendar invite and then also in the folder. But if you lost the link, let me know and I'll resend it.
Thanks. I'm good.
Okay.
Other questions, comments? I'm not seeing any here or in the chat. So please reach out to Natalie if you do have any questions regarding the status of your contract process for further information. Okay. Well, thank you again, Natalie, for that presentation and for making your slides accessible. We are now at the point of the agenda where we're going to turn it over to you all as collaborative members to share any comments or updates that you'd like to share, upcoming events, pertinent announcements related to the work of this collaborative that you'd like others in the group here to know about. So I want to go ahead and open the floor for any and all of you to share any related news or updates that folks ought to know. And Jesse and Maria, I don't know if OCBC has any pertinent updates to share on its events coming up the rest of this year or any other work. But I do see a hand from Anna, and I will turn to you, Anna, and give you the floor.
Thank you. Hello again. Wanted to share that Cooperación Santana has a few things coming up. One is that we are graduating this year's cohort of introductory co-op participants. So there's 10 businesses that have introductory for women worker cooperatives. They're going to have the registration on Monday. I believe there's a couple of seats still available, so I'll be following up with an email. Are you able to hear me? Am I freezing?
Yeah, we can hear you. A little choppy, but you can certainly know what you're saying.
Okay, sorry about that. The other thing that I'll be here, we have
Oh, it looks like we lost Anna. Okay, well, if she comes back on, we'll give her a chance to finish her comments. Any others want to share in the meantime, the upcoming events or pertinent information related to the collaborative here?
Ish, this is Melanie. Can you hear me?
We can, yeah, go ahead, Melanie.
Great. Sorry, I'm driving to an appointment. I wanted to just let everyone know that through Coastal Corridor Alliance, we are in a public comment period right now for 3 plans that have been created for the Randall Preserve, which was formerly Banning Ranch. One of them is a resource management plan, so how the plants and animals will be managed. We also have a public access plan, so that's kind of the recreation component, trails, trailheads, interpretive signs, programming. And then our third plan is a coastal resilience strategy, so how the property will accommodate sea level rise, king tides, flooding, things like that. And we're planning for 100 years out with a 4.9-foot sea level rise. So the comments are due July 14th, and all the information is available at randallpreserve.org. We have 2 more public meetings coming up. One of them's Monday night at the Norma Herzog Community Center in Costa Mesa. And then the last one is on Saturday, June 21st at the Newport Beach Community Center.
Excellent. Thank you, Melanie, for that information.
Thank
And if you wouldn't mind just dropping your, you probably have already during the intro part of the meeting, just drop your email address so folks have a way of, in the chat, so folks have a way of circling back with you if they are interested in more details. That would be awesome.
Sure.
And Anna, I don't know if you're back, but if you are, we lost you earlier in your comments. Do you want to take another stab at it? And I'm not sure if you are back or not. I'm not seeing you. Okay. All right. Anyone else want to share anything related to the collaborative? Jesse, Maria, Dr. Walrod, anything OCBC related that you might want to?
Nope, I
invite
think
this
we're
to
good,
take
Ish.
part in?
I think
Okay.
nothing wrong with giving people 10 minutes plus their time back.
That sounds good with me. So unless there's anything else, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn. But before we do so, I want to just give you some reminders on some important upcoming dates. So as mentioned earlier, the next collaborative meeting, which is virtual, will be on Friday, July 18th at 9 a.m. You should have a calendar invite for that. However, there will be an optional virtual meeting on the Friday before, which is July 11th at 9 a.m. For those of you who would like to take part in selection briefing for Catalyst Round 2. That will be made available to you on July 11th, a week before our regularly scheduled collaborative meeting. And, similar to the first round for Catalyst, the goal is to review the process for selecting the community enhancing projects. And since, many of you served as judges for those projects, I think that's the practice that'll continue into round 2. So definitely take part in the July 11th meeting if you're interested in that process. And of course, as always, you can either email Jesse or Maria for any information related to any parts of that process related to Catalyst funding or anything else collaborative related for that matter. But yeah, with that, we will give you back 11 minutes and say thank you for being here this morning. Oh, I did see one last question. Last minute question came in the chat. Maria and Jesse, if you can send over that link for the information that's being requested, that would be good. But otherwise, for the rest of you, have a great weekend, and we'll be speaking to you all soon. Be safe out there, and we'll see you soon.